Well, today is Saturday the 14th, and already we are seeing violence breaking out. And it is involving whether people are happy or unhappy about the mandates that have come out. So, LA anti-vax rally ends with a man being stabbed in a violent brawl. This happened today, Saturday the 14th. This is by a Blake Montgomery. And so I saw this, and so they show a still photo of the scene that happened downtown LA. And I will say this, there will be many more scenes such as this because of what is now happening. So what is now happening? An anti-vaccine rally that was in downtown Los Angeles erupted into a street fight Saturday afternoon, leaving one protester bloodied on the ground with a stab wound, and the journalist filing a police report over the alleged assault. So organizers held the demonstration to decry coronavirus mask mandates. That's what this whole thing was over. Like the one that was implemented in LA County here last month. So the vaccine requirements, like the stipulations for entering many establishments in San Francisco, instituted this week. So the LA City Council followed San Francisco's lead earlier this week, voting to direct city attorneys to draft a law paving the way for entry into bars, restaurants, movie theaters, and gyms to be conditional upon vaccination status. And so it has caused a great big uproar now. So pro-vaccine protesters staged a counter demonstration in front of City Hall, and many were wearing masks, and they were wearing black attire. So shortly after 2:30 p.m. today, in the afternoon or the evening, tensions boiled over, and a member of the group of anti-vaxxers came to blows with a counter-protester, with one person apparently being stabbed amid of the chaos. And so police were seen administering first aid, and the paramedics transported the man to the hospital. So it's not immediately clear what sparked the fight, but the anti-mask crowd claimed the wounded demonstrator was one of their own. And so the fist fight between the anti and the pro-vaccine crowds reportedly involved mace and death threats. So you see some people that probably were sprayed in the face, or and who knows wherever else, not only sprayed but stabbed. And so in a separate incident, Frank Stoles, a reporter for the local station KPCC, filed a police report alleging that an anti-vaccine protester had assaulted him while he was conducting an interview. So anti-mask protester reportedly harried him out of the city hall, screaming at him and kicking him. And in all, the hundreds of people congregated for the rally, according to the LA Times. The Times estimated that several hundred anti-vaccine advocates were on the scene opposite of the dozens of pro-vaccine protesters. And so the LA Police Department, Captain Stacy Spell, said in a statement to the Times, "We are on the scene to maintain order after a fight broke out between Antifa and people that were gathered for the permitted event. So we are aware of one male that was stabbed on the scene and is being treated by the fire department personnel. So no arrest had been made. An investigation is now ongoing." So you see a still photo of this protest that took place. And it says earlier this year, an anti-vaccine protesters, they briefly shut down Dodger Stadium vaccination site, storming its gates while carrying protest signs as well. So public health experts across the country and at all levels of government have repeatedly said that the vaccination is the best way to fight this coronavirus pandemic. So a majority of the population in the U.S. is fully vaccinated. However, inoculation rates have slowed during the summer months, and pockets remain unvaccinated. So people who have either refused to get vaccinated or they waited to get the shot. Cases across the country are now surging. And believe me, there's another story that I'm going to go into, and it's not good at all. And I know it's coming here to LA County. So it goes on, it says, the cases are now surging and concentrated in enclaves without immunity like Florida and Mississippi, which are really bad right now. And it's so bad in Mississippi, I saw where they said that they had ran out of room in some hospitals and they were actually putting hospital beds in parking lots to treat people. That's how bad it is. So the resulting explosion of cases has created the CDC Director Rochelle Walensky has called a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And so here's a still photo of what also took place during these rallies, and this is downtown LA. And so you see a lot of scuffling going on right here. And so it's nothing pretty. And so it's just only getting started. It's just at the beginning, and it's getting worse. And I knew this was coming down the road. And so yet, what other incidents has happened is schools are going to be opening. And so schools are supposed to open August the 16th. But right now, schools that are already open or had tried to open a little earlier than LA County, they haven't been having a good turnout. Why? Either kids are not showing up or they have things like this going on. And you take a look at this. Georgia, they shut down all of the schools amid major student COVID outbreak. And this is what is happening in Georgia right now. And so this is by a Mary Pappenfuss. So a Georgia county has shut down all 11 of its public schools just over a week after classes began amid a sharp increase in student coronavirus cases. So schools in the Ware County in the southeastern Georgia are now closed until at least August the 27th. And so, see, they started their schools a little bit before us. And students won't be allowed back until September 7th at the earliest. According to officials, schools are not offering virtual classes during that time. And so 4 other small school districts in Georgia suspended their in-person instruction earlier in the week as the COVID-19 cases among students have soared. So initially, we thought that we were going to have a normal start. Ware County School Superintendent Bert Smith, he told the radio, or the TV station, that is, WJXT, I believe it's Channel 4 TV. So the biggest problem quickly became staffing. And so he said that teachers had to split their time between the in-person classes and the virtual teaching for students in quarantine. So there's not enough time in the day, Smith said. So as for the sick and the at-risk children, our nursing clinics are overwhelmed with kids having to quarantine, he said. Right now, every day is a challenge. So as of Friday in the Ware schools, 76 students had tested positive. 76 students tested positive for COVID-19, and another 679 students were quarantined out of a total of 5,900 students. So Smith said that 353 students were quarantined because of the exposure of outside of school. So that was according to WJXT. So among the district's 950 school employees, 67 have tested positive, and an additional 150 have been quarantined. Only 29% of the people in Ware County have been fully vaccinated. Georgia ranks among the bottom 8th state in the terms of vaccination rates, with just 39.4% of its population that's fully vaccinated. So that's kind of low from what I'm looking at here. So across the nation, at least 10,000 students have already been quarantined due to the COVID-19 exposure just days into the new school year. So the situation is particularly dire in states with low vaccination rates and where Republican governors and state legislators have banned mask mandates in schools. So health officials and experts warn such conditions are certain to contribute to the spread of the dominant Delta variant of the virus, and so which is affecting far more children. With this virus, it's like affecting the children even more so, with more serious symptoms than the initial one that had started out the form of the disease. And so where, like most Georgia counties, has a mask optional policy in schools, meaning some kids, if the parents or the kids are wanting their kids to wear a mask, they can wear a mask. And then kids who don't want to wear a mask, they don't have to. So that's where a lot of confusion comes in at, though masks were strongly recommended. And so this was according to WSAV. So the battle over COVID precautions at schools erupted into violence Wednesday in California schools where masks were required. And so I've heard some stories where the teachers have been attacked simply because they're following a rule that they didn't create, that maybe their school or maybe was something that was created by the school, something that was created by, somebody that's at a higher seat than them, and they're just following the protocols because that's what they've been told they had to do. And so I've been hearing some things like that. So a father in Sutter Creek allegedly struck a teacher after he spotted his daughter wearing a mask, simply because the daughter was wearing a mask or given a mask to wear. The teacher was hit by the father. So this is KRON Channel 4 TV reported this. And so the teacher was hospitalized with injuries to the face, according to the school officials. So physical violence, it's just not going to be tolerated. This was said by Amandor County Superintendent Tori Gibson. So this story appeared today, August 14th. And so you can see here, there's a video that is attached to it. Basically, you can look at it if you want to see this article, and you can click on the video, and it is probably going to go through everything that I just said about their outbreak and how they closed the schools down in Georgia County. 11 of the schools are closed down and a few other schools. And so in other areas that are outside of California, we're not seeing all of this just yet. But we are seeing the riots happening. We are seeing and hearing the different debates. And we are hearing that there are mandates. We have mandates that have come here where if you're going to go in public places, you might be asked for proof that you're not sick, and it is getting pretty strict, and it is causing a lot of fallout. And so that's what we're seeing and hearing, and it just doesn't look like it's going to get any better. But I will say this, since I'm actually out in this area of LA County, I noticed I've been hearing a lot of ambulance more often. There has been the mandates that have come down. Mostly everywhere you go, they say if you want to do any service, if you don't wear a mask, there's no service. And they have signs that are posted on windows. And so you can't just go in, willy-nilly. Some people do go in some places with no mask, and some people have kind of opted out of saying anything. It depends on what place it is. Some places are a little more stricter than others. But now, since we have this surge going on, I believe they have gotten even more aggressive with how they handle this situation in some of these public places, businesses. And so here it's restaurant, bars, gyms. There's a lot of places that you cannot just, movie theaters, they have changed a lot of things where you can't even, some bars, you can't even get served unless you show proof that you're not sick. Because a lot of these places, if you look at the correlation, bars, restaurants, movie theaters, gyms, it's places where there are people that are gathered. even if you say you're not going to be that close to somebody, or they separate, or they claim they're cleaning up the place and making it, they put a humidifier, or like a pure air purifier in there, or they open doors and windows, it's not enough. Because if somebody comes in there, all it takes is one person to come in and spread this disease. And so no matter how clean it is, no matter how ventilated it is, you're going to have people that are going to come in contact with that sick person that's there, and they're going to come down with this, and then it takes one person to spread it to another person, and then that person spreads it, and so on and so forth. And so now they're really putting their foot down. I guess this Delta is really contagious, and what I was hearing, that it was as contagious as the chickenpox, that it was that contagious. And I guess that's why it spread so easily with kids, because what do kids do at school? They line up to go to the bathroom, they line up to go to the cafeteria, or they're all in the hallway when between classes. They have to gather together in certain groups and areas, or they even in their head, knowing stay 6 feet apart, they're going to have on masks. They want to talk to their friends, they socialize. So that's going to be really hard to have children or teenagers, and you're telling them to separate. Even adults are having a hard time with it. You see what's going on right now, with all the protests, and I don't believe this is going to end anytime soon. It's only going to get heightened even more, the more that they come down and be more aggressive about the situation. But the reason they're being aggressive is because so many people are now getting infected who might not have been affected, and then you still have groups of people who haven't been vaccinated, or they maybe got one shot and didn't get the other. Different situations, and a lot of these people are getting really sick. And I think they're worried about the kids, because they're seeing kids in the hospitals, and some of the hospitals are getting so overwhelmed that some of the nurses are quitting. And then some of them are afraid. They don't want to get shots because it doesn't have the FDA approval. But what I was hearing is when they do get the FDA approval on these vaccines, what's going to happen is that you think this is bad. They're going to even have more stricter mandates, because they know now they've got approval, and they know now that they can enforce this, and so it's going to be more aggressive, because they're trying to see if they can combat this virus and whatever other variants that could come thereafter. And here in LA County, we just had the first person to show up with the Lambda virus, and that is a variant of Covid-19. And so that is the reason why it is getting a little more aggressive with the mandates. And so, but some people are more resistant to the mandates because they feel it's a form of control. And in some ways it is, in some ways it is to try to keep people from coming down, keep more people from coming down with getting sick. But we've been hearing some breakthrough viruses as well, people who have been vaccinated still coming down with the virus. But what I've been hearing also is that depending on the circumstance, some people get, a bad case of it, and then others, they don't end up in the hospital, but they do get sick and they can still spread it. And so that's probably why some people are refusing to get the shot as well, because they figure, well, if I'm going to get the shot and still get it, why get the shot? And I know that's probably what people are thinking. Then some people are probably thinking, if I get sick and catch it, then maybe that's like getting the shot, because I'm getting vaccinated through a natural selection, and that maybe will reach herd immunity. But that's not how it works. According to the scientists, it's supposed to be a large number of people getting inoculated with the vaccine. And then if you have like maybe 85% to 90% of the people in population that are vaccinated or close to that, and I believe they wanted like 75% or a little more. If they got to that goal, then you could say it was herd immunity, and then the numbers would be probably a lot lower. There'd be less people that would come down with these outbreaks of these variants. But according to what's been going on, I didn't think it was going to really be achievable, because there's so many people. And it's not just in one city, it's not just in one state, it's many states, many cities, and it's a global thing. And so it's in other countries as well. And so people travel in the airports, in the airplanes. And so if somebody, let's say if things are low in the US, you have people traveling in and out. Somebody could come from somewhere else and then bring more of the virus here, or a different version of it. So I just think this thing is just really difficult to contain. I think, unfortunately, it's either going to get a lot worse, or it has to take its course. Some people are going to die. Some people are going to get really sick. And some people are going to be infected, and they're going to have to live through it. And hopefully they can get past those infections. And so that's what it's looking like. And then there's some people that maybe they're going to be fortunate not to get infected, but they're going to be in hotspots or in really vulnerable situations where they could, maybe they're living close. They have to live close to their family members. A lot of things are going on, so it's pretty complicated. And so I didn't think that this was going to be easy in any sense of the word, but yeah, so we're having the violence breaking out here, and it's only going to get worse. And I've been seeing some things, where people have been looking like they're suspicious about others. They don't have a lot of trust. You see people kind of like glaring at each other and everything, and people kind of stepping away. I've been noticing that in stores, like when you go in grocery stores, people kind of barrel around you because some people are worried that they could get sick. And then you see people with like extra layers of protection. They don't just have the mask, they have a visor and they have glasses, and I guess maybe, and usually you see that, I've seen it in more older people because they're really afraid of catching something because they're really vulnerable because they might be already compromised with, have other illnesses going on that are out of their control. And so this is really scary. But this is happening, and so I know if this is happening here, it's going to happen in other places too, outside of LA County and outside of LA City and outside of California. I've been hearing of people doing things like having rallies and fighting, and it's back and forth. But we shall see how this ends up and how this plays out. But it doesn't look good. I can just tell you from right now, it just doesn't look like it's going to be any end to this at all, especially if you have one governor saying wear masks, we need to go back to wearing masks, and then you have another governor saying, oh, let's take the mask off. But you have schools closing down because kids are coming down with this stuff, this COVID-19 and some of the other variants that are really serious. And I saw it where a nurse, she started to cry because she said she's seeing a lot younger patients, and a lot of them are afraid of dying. Some of them feel like they're not going to get out of the hospital, they're not going to make it because they're that sick. And so she's really was stressing that people get vaccinated. But people are going to be people, and they're going to do what they think that they are wanting to do for whatever their beliefs. And I think that's what our biggest problem is there's so many different beliefs and so many different ideas that not everybody wants to, do things that they think is going to be safe. They think, oh, this is, it doesn't even happen like it's happening. It's, they might even think that these are hoaxes or crisis actors. Or, I've heard those sayings, They may not even believe it. I feel like people don't really believe things until it's happening to somebody they're close to. And so I believe that's what's going on with some of this. And then there's fear, because you have a lot of people, showing the bad things that can happen if you get a shot and it doesn't go well. There have been incidences where people have gotten shots and it didn't go well. And then something happened to them, they got sick or whatever. And so there's a lot of fear, And then when you have so many people that you're saying that you want to inoculate, there's a lot of of doubts. There's a lot of suspicion that is raised through this. And now with the cards, it's like having another form of ID. And so a lot of people are questioning, okay, why do we have to have cards to show proof that we've been vaccinated? What is this whole thing about? And so that might raise even more fears. And so that's probably where a lot of this is coming from, I would bet. But anyway, I'm going to let this go. But yeah, it was pretty bad today. And so this is the scene that happened here downtown LA, where people are basically, they're really, really upset behind the mandates. And I don't think it's going to get any easier because we haven't opened our schools completely yet. And just today, I think they were having, in some places, they were having like backpack giveaways. They were having some little, back to school. I've been seeing that in the stores. And it's almost like people want to function like it used to be, but it isn't like it used to be. If you get what I'm saying. It's like people want to believe that, oh, we're normal. Everything is back to normal, normalcy, but it really isn't. It's still a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of what if this happens, what if that happens, and sadly, there are a lot of what ifs that are happening. That's the unfortunate part of all of this.